Hey, what's going on everyone? I'm Greg Jones for Motorcycle and Powersports News. And today on MPN Reviews, we're checking out the 2023 UBCO Special Edition 2x2. There's a lot to unpack, so let's get into it. All right guys, well welcome to an MPN review of this 2023 UBCO Special Edition 2x2. I mentioned there's a lot to unpack, and speaking of unpacking, this got sent to us in a gigantic box, and fortunately it was 99% already put together, which was super nice. The folks at UBCO had it all put together. The only thing that we really had to do once we got it out of the box was line up the handlebars here nice and straight, and tighten that stuff back up top here. These rear tail lights and signals were connected but not screwed in and in position, so we had to just tighten those up and put those on. And then really from there it was just charging up the battery and getting ready to test it out and ride it. Before I get into some details about the UBCO Special Edition 2x2, I wanted to give you guys just a brief history about UBCO and kind of background of the company. They are a New Zealand company founded on the premise of creating these rugged, all-electric utility 2x2 bikes. The founders have an e-bike background, and they saw a hole in the market for creating exactly this. They entered the United States market a few years back and have really been up in the ante on the different models over the years and have become a big player in the EV space. So with that, let's get into some details specifically about what's right here. All right guys, so first things first, you got to just look at the bike overall. I personally think it's pretty impressive looking. It's got this really nice olive green, dark green color. Frankly, I don't know if they have a specific name to the paint color, but definitely eye-catching overall. The other thing that you notice first is there are no pedals. This is not an e-bike. This is not a category 1, 2, or 3 e-bike. It's really an electric motorcycle for all intents and purposes. There are just your throttle. You twist and go. Kind of purpose built for off-road, but it also has street capabilities. If you live in a city or around, roads that are generally around 30 miles an hour, this is a bike that you can hop on, go run some errands, get some groceries, do that sort of thing. But again, the bigger focus of what this bike was built for is that rugged off-road capability and usability. So with that, I'll go to the battery first. So this is a 3.1 kilowatt battery. Again, we had to charge it up when it came to us, and that takes roughly 4 to 6 hours to get to a full charge. And on a full charge, it gives you about a 75-mile range. Now, it's got a top speed of 30 miles an hour. If you're full throttle, 30 miles an hour the whole time, you're not going to get that 75-mile range out of it. You're going to knock a few miles off of that range if you're going full bore. However, if you're staying around that 20-mile-an-hour speed, you're going to get that 75 miles out of it, which is pretty impressive. Now, helping the UBCO do that and get those speeds are 2 independent electric motors, one in the front wheel, one in the back wheel. They're each 1 kilowatt, and they act independently from one another. And that's to help you guys out when you're doing some off-road stuff, maybe doing a little bit of climbing or on an incline, in some loose mud or dirt. That's what gives the UBCO some better capabilities off-road. Also helping you out off-road are the shocks. You got some shocks up front and in the rear. Both have some adjustability to them, and really give you a smooth ride whether you're on the street or if you're off-road, which is really, really nice. The other cool thing, again, I mentioned that this is a bike that, if you live in a city or if you live in an area where, your roads are generally around 30 miles an hour, You can take this to go get some groceries, go run some errands. You've got some really great storage on this bike. Up front, you got a rack here with some giant loop straps. In the middle, you've got a 12-liter capacity bag here that's kind of open. And your seat also opens up to give you a little bit more ease of putting stuff in there. And then in the back, you've got a rack here. And UBCO also comes with this really cool 30-liter capacity bag, and everything on here is obviously waterproof, weatherproof, so that your stuff stays dry. And this one's nice because it just kind of has a Velcro strap that lets you put stuff on and off and gives you ease of carrying that around. Now, I mentioned it's got a 30-mile-per-hour top speed. A little bit about the other specs of the bike. The bike itself weighs about 156 pounds, which is fairly lightweight for what this is, and that's by design. That's what UBCO wanted. They wanted a lightweight utility, electric bike, and it's got a carrying capacity of 330 pounds, which is pretty impressive. So, including the rider and some other stuff you might put on there, I think you'd be pretty hard pressed to put that much on the bike, unless you were doing, something really extreme or trying to really, bog this thing down. All right, and another cool feature that's on the UBCO here is this cell phone mount right here. It's a peak performance mount. It comes with this little clip that just locks in place. It's magnetic, but it also has a lock function. And to release it, you just kind of push in and pull off. But, something to put your phone on or iPad or, whatever, might fit there for you. So that's really neat. Now, one thing I did want to get into is a little bit more about the seat. Obviously, you'll notice that there's really no adjustability here. This is kind of a one-size-fits-all design. There's no up or down. I showed you that the seat does fold up here to help you get to the storage, but that's really all it does. That being said, I'm about 6 foot tall, and sitting on this and riding on it in the position that it's set up for is pretty comfortable. I had no issues. Really wouldn't change much about it, even if I did have adjustability. Obviously, I mentioned that we had to put on these rear lights, just kind of screw them on there, but you got lights in back, you got indicators in front. You have a LED headlight that's got a couple different settings, which is really great to help you see at night or in low visibility situations. We can get a little bit more into the cockpit itself here. All right, so for starting this thing up, like I said, there's really nothing to it. It's just a twist and go type of situation. You got a red start button over here. Your kickstand's got to be up in order to actually turn it on. Up here, you got a nice LED display, gives you your battery reading, your speed. It's got a clock, a couple of different settings that you can switch between Celsius and Fahrenheit of temperature of the bike. It's got your odometer and trip meter. And that's really all it's going to display there. Over here, you got a couple different light settings like I was talking about. For your high beam LED and regular setting. You got your turn signals left and right, and then you got your horn, telling people to get out of your way. You also got your mirrors here on each side, and that's also one thing that we did have to just screw on when the bike came to us. Again, no big deal. It took 4 seconds to do that. So that's a little bit about kind of what's up here when you're sitting on the bike. So nothing too extravagant, but everything that you need. All right, guys, so that's pretty much a run through of what you're getting with the 2023 UBCO Special Edition 2x2. To go over a little bit about how, impressed we were with it out on the street and out on the, taking it off road a little bit. It definitely put a smile on our face. It was super fun to ride, super easy to ride. Like I said, it's just the throttle. If you can balance a bike, you can ride this. And to that point, you don't need a motorcycle license to ride this bike because it's only got that 30-mile-an-hour top speed. Just take the regular precautions of, safety equipment and following the rules of the road if you're riding it on the street. Again, super fun, handled well. The suspension kept the bike nice and comfortable. And off-road, the independent motors definitely help you out on different types of surfaces. And, if it was wet or muddy or dirt, sand, whatever, that's going to help you out. Now, it does come with kind of more of an off-road tire on it. And that's something that, depending on how you're going to use the bike, is something that you could switch up. If you're just going to be using it in a downtown city type environment, you could put some different tires on. Or if you're going to just be doing some off-road type activities like hunting or camping or, you name it, you can get an even more rugged tire put on. But it comes with something that's a little bit in between and maybe a little bit more oriented for the off-road stuff. Now, it's got a $7,000 price tag. Let's talk a little bit about that. That's not super cheap. It's also not super expensive for what you're getting for the money. Again, this is not an e-bike. It's not pedal assist, but it's also not a full electric motorcycle that can go 60, 70 miles an hour and take you all over the place. It's kind of right there, right in the center, but it gives you that off-road capability and some street capability. So I really think of it more as a scooter. And for being a scooter, I think that $7,000 price tag is justified. I think you're getting a lot of bike for the money. And again, it gives you that play to be off-road and on the street if you need it. One other thing I wanted to make sure I mentioned while we're talking about the off-road capabilities of the UBCO is a frequently asked question that they get at UBCO about whether the bike can go through water or what's kind of the capability with water. Now, the simple answer is yes, you can go through some water, however, to a certain degree. Generally, because it's an electric bike and there's components that can get easily ruined and show some wear because of too much water exposure, they say you really shouldn't go through anything that's deeper than the axles on the front and rear wheels, and you really don't want to fully submerge the battery. Again, simply because that can mess some stuff up in those components, and it could also void your warranty on the bike, which none of that stuff is things that you want to do. So if you're thinking about going through streams or rivers or anything that's going to really put this bike underwater, I would think twice about that because it's really just not worth doing that. However, if you do end up getting some water damage, things are replaceable. The battery can pull right out, and that's something that you can replace. So just keep that in mind if you're thinking about that type of off-roading with the bike. So overall, again, came away really impressed, and tons of features on the UBCO here. And if you guys want to know more about this bike and maybe test ride it yourself, make sure you guys are checking out UBCO. We'll put a link right here in the video for you. And we appreciate you guys watching this MPN review. Make sure you're checking out Motorcycle and Powersports News for more motorcycle and powersports content. Again, I'm Greg Jones, and we'll see you guys next time.